I was working at one of the most well-known restaurants, if not in the world, the entire country, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I was employed there from 1989 to August of 2005, and I think you know what happened on that particular date. I am at my work. The lounge was filled with people, and they were all watching the television coverage and the forecast track and the progress of Hurricane Katrina once after it crossed over the Florida Peninsula and into the Gulf of Mexico. And when Katrina hit that hot water pocket, Katrina exploded into a 700-mile wide monster. Within 60 seconds, the entire lounge and restaurant was empty. Everyone left to go and see about preparing themselves to get out of Katrina's way. I went home, tried to protect whatever property I could. I hoped Sunday evening that maybe it would make that last-minute jog back to the east and it would bypass New Orleans, but there was not a chance of that happening. I packed up what I could, which is about roughly, say, 3 changes of clothes, 2 pairs of shoes, several cans of canned food, put it into a shopping cart, and pushed it all the way to a place called the Capri Motel, which became the Crystal Inn. If you are going to remain, you'll need 3 things: a rope, a fire axe, and a mark slot. And they wanted you to mark your social security number on your forearm in the event that you wound up drowning. I remember tearfully pulling the breakers on my home that I lived at, unplug all electrical appliances, and I started crying. And I locked the door and I said, I just hope this is all here when I get back. And I made a call to my then fiance. I said, looks like it's about the worst is over. She says, no, Lannie, you're about to experience the eye. It should be hitting you right about now. For a second, I thought, well, maybe we'll get through all this. But by 12:30, 1 p.m., round 2 was coming up. The building that I was staying in, it was shaking rather violently. It looked like a parade of semi-tractor trailers were just circling the entire structure. I was in the very rear of the motel, and the water level hasn't gotten that bad, but then sometime around 1:30, I noticed the water level started rising. People were calling up the only radio station that was on the air at that time, calling and crying for help. The water was rising. One person stayed not too far away from me on Hennessy Street. I was going to try to attempt to walk back to my home and see what damage had occurred, but the water was too high. I would say at the best guesstimate from my location, the water had to be about somewhere in the vicinity of about 8 to 9 feet. We started making the trek from the motel to the adjoining on-ramp. When I got to the top, our route took us along the parts of the interstate system that had not been submerged on the upper level. Every so often, a Black Hawk would drop a pallet containing MREs, water, and any other supplies that are needed. We walked, I would say, the equivalent of 3/4 of a mile to a section of New Orleans, which could be considered the law enforcement complex of the city. We got picked up by an element of what was left of the New Orleans Police Department. Most of the officers, the majority of them, abandoned their posts and fled well in advance of Katrina. We were taken by a large, I guess you could say, dump truck. Me and about roughly, say, 20 other people, and we were put off there at the pickup point. San Antonio, Texas was the city that we were going to be sent to. I couldn't make enough money from working at the Sarasota Herald Tribune to make ends meet. I was in a different department, circulation and distribution. And the hourly wages weren't that great back then. I started shopping at Goodwill when I lived right around the corner. It was the old DeSoto Junction. And as I said, I did that as a form of therapy, some normalcy. One of the role model work suggested I go to work for Goodwill. I come to find out that we all have tales, and I'm not the only one that Goodwill has helped that has come from almost similar circumstances. And from the looks of things, looks like this is going to be home permanently.